We've all been taught from a very young age that sharing is caring. But is sharing really caring? And is sharing really fun? About a month ago, my neighbour and her toddler came into my house. Mind you as well that this was the first time that they ever come into my house, and it was the first time that her little boy has an interaction with my daughter. That day, bless her, she was sat in her room, and normally she has all her toys organised in a certain way. And that day I would have actually just brought her a new toy as well, and she was still getting to explore it. The little boy walked in, and obviously, bless him, he wanted the same toy that was in her hand, because for some reason children find the toy that's already been played with the most interesting, right? And that's the reason why they always encourage you to share. But obviously, where my daughter had already had the toy in her hands and it's her toy and she was already playing with her, she didn't want to share, which is fair enough. And the little boy, bless him, tried playing with other toys, but obviously she was getting really upset because they're her toys and she likes them organized a certain way. So it was making her really uncomfortable that someone else has come into her room and is now playing with her things and messing up her things and rearranging them differently. And this was the moment I actually realized, wow, these children are just like us adults. You know, they all have difference of opinions, and their difference of opinions is playing with things differently and rearranging them differently. And obviously not all kids are going to agree on the same thing. The little boy's mother did start to get really upset, and then she started going on about why is she not sharing. My son shares everything with other children. But because I just stood there and didn't say a word and just watched my daughter just react naturally, it was obviously chaos from there. They both started crying so much. My 4-year-old, bless her, got really upset that she just decided to just walk into the bedroom and just go to sleep. This was actually the day that I made the decision to homeschool my daughter, and I was very serious about it as well. My daughter that day literally cried all the way up until she fell asleep, bless her, because she felt that upset. It also meant that much to her that someone else was messing with her things, with her toys. So this was actually the day that I made the decision to home educate my 4-year-old daughter, because that was also the day that I literally just questioned, if this is my first time ever observing my child around other children and this has happened, and that has also happened in my house right in front of my eyes, can you only imagine the amount of other incidents like this that happen when I'm not even there? If similar shit like this is going on in school, but she's still told to share. And it really made me think, you know, that if this is my first time ever watching my child playing with other children, and this has happened in my house right in front of my eyes, can you only imagine the amount of other incidents that go on that I have no idea about? And that explains why my daughter always had a meltdown when she came back from school, bless her, because she would bottle all those emotions in all day just to break down as soon as she gets home, because I get it, it's too much. Another incident like this happened recently as well when I took my daughter to soft play, and she was playing with a toy in soft play. And normally when my daughter picks up a toy, she'd sit down and play with it for ages, right? For ages and ages without getting bored, and she'd explore that toy so many times. So that's what she was doing. She was sat on her own playing with the toy, bless her. And then a little girl came in and she wanted the same toy that was in my daughter's hands. And as the little girl started touching the toy that was in my daughter's hands, my daughter started to slightly move away because she's playing with it. I just literally stood there and just watched her. I never interfere and I never influence my daughter's decisions when she's around other children. I just let her do her and behave the way she wants to behave. She wasn't trying to push the girl away or anything, but she was just moving away herself, slightly, trying to protect the toy that's in her hands, right? After 2 attempts of the little girl trying to go for the toy and my daughter moving away, her mother just turned around and looked at her and went, "That's good sharing, well done for sharing, love." And I was just like, what? You've literally just barged into my daughter's space and didn't even ask any permission as well. My daughter was literally just playing peacefully and you've literally invaded her space. Your child tried taking the toy that was already in her hands without asking any permission as well, or even ask for her if they can play together. And when my daughter obviously moved away because she don't really know who that is, the other girl got praised for sharing. And that day I was like, wow, this is actually really, really twisted. And I can only imagine the amount of incidents like this that happen on a day-to-day basis in school or even out of school. Just like in this incident, my daughter didn't do anything wrong. She was literally just minding her own business, playing with a toy, but she's deemed the bad person for not sharing something she already had in her hands that she doesn't quite have to share. And then the other child then gets praised for sharing something that's not even theirs. It wasn't her toy and it wasn't in her hands. She literally just invaded another child's space and then got praised for doing that, and that's apparently sharing is caring. And yet again, that made me think that, wow, if this is one incident that's happened right in front of my eyes in soft play, can you only imagine the amount of incidents that happen like this on a day-to-day basis? But we don't know. We don't know they happen, right, as parents. And that explains why our children come back from school exhausted, bless them, because I get it, it's too much. And when you go through things like that in school, where no one is sticking up for you as well, no one is backing you up, no one is watching over you, knowing what actually happened, and then you're just looked at as the bad child for not sharing. I personally think this is the most sinister thing you can ever teach a child, to be fair, that sharing is caring. No, sharing isn't caring and sharing isn't fun. I believe kids shouldn't be taught that sharing is caring. They should be taught to respect personal property. They should be taught to respect personal belongings. And they should be taught to respect personal space. Throughout my whole life, I've literally witnessed children crying over the same toy, not having fun with it. There's literally a whole Coco Melon song about it saying sharing is caring, sharing is fun. But the reality of things is that sharing is not caring at all and is definitely not fun at all. I've never in my life seen two kids playing happily with the same toy. They're always either fighting or crying over the same toy. So I really don't understand what type of manipulative, sinister education this is. They literally teach you that sharing is caring from nursery, but it's nowhere near to caring. I believe sharing is only fun for the person being shared with. Sharing is only caring for the person being shared with. But the person actually sharing, no one cares about their feelings at all. Sharing is only fun for the third party. And this is why I believe this saying is so manipulative. It's literally the most sinister and manipulative thing you can ever teach a child. Because that saying doesn't give a shit about the person actually sharing. It only gives a shit about the person being shared with. But the person sharing, who even cares about their feelings? They're supposed to share, right? This is why entitlement is dangerous. This is why expectations and society expectations are dangerous. Because sharing is caring isn't the fucking Bible. Sharing is caring is not law. Sharing is caring is literally nothing but a made-up society expectation. Because you see, society expects. They expect from you. But your feelings, your own feelings as a child or even as an adult, who even cares about those? I literally never agreed with this saying my whole life. And now that I have a child of my own, I can see it more, I can understand it more. And I can understand and really see how it really hurts them as children. It really upsets them. Sharing really upsets children. And those same people who expect your child to share all the time, do they share anything back? And the same child I mentioned in the beginning of this video, he would have felt exactly the same as my daughter if she had walked into his room and started playing with his toys, just because I suggested that sharing is caring and that they should share. And this just goes to show that children are no different to us. They're young people just like us, with feelings and emotions just like us. The same way you as an adult wouldn't like anyone taking your personal belongings or going into your house and messing things up that you've arranged yourself. Children also don't like that. How would you feel if someone just walked in on you and just said, hey, let me share your phone? How would you feel if you were ice skating, for example, and then another adult tried grabbing your ice skates off because they like them better than the ones they have, and then tried manipulating you into giving them your ice skates because they said that sharing is caring? You'd obviously kick them right in the face. And this is not to promote violence or anything, but this is exactly how an adult would act in a situation like this. And this is why I feel so much for those young children, because although they know this is wrong, they know the whole sharing is caring is so wrong, but bless them, they can't even defend themselves, because then us adults would be labeling them things. Sharing is caring is a garbage phrase that's meaningless among young children. Someone here says, I absolutely despise this saying. I work in the childcare industry and I hear the kids say this constantly to one another. Sounds sweet, right? But do you know how they use it? To bully a child out of a toy they just started playing with. It's like some sort of entitlement trigger. A kid will be quietly playing with a toy. Another kid will spot the enjoyment and then decide they want that toy now, and they will try taking it. And if that child doesn't immediately relinquish, they just start repeating over and over again. But sharing is caring. But sharing is caring. But sharing is caring. Then she went on and said, I think we need to evaluate how we make our kids share. If an adult, for instance, asked for my phone and I said no, and they started whining about how sharing is caring, I'd punch them right in the face. There you go. This comment was written by an adult that works in a child industry. Sharing is caring just teaches us from a very young age entitlement, to feel entitled to everything everyone else has. And that is the most toxic thing you can teach a young child. I don't understand it when grown-up force kids to give up things they had first in their hands, or things that they've even bought with their own money, just to take it away and give it to another kid, because apparently sharing is caring. But no one thinks of the kid who owns the item in the first place and how they feel. It's just so wrong, and it's the most twisted thing you can teach a child. What's up with parents and teachers trying to promote this mindset that you have to share absolutely everything, and if you don't share, then apparently you're rude or mean? Teaching kids sharing is very dangerous because it teaches them entitlement, so that when you share, you're also entitled constantly to other people's things. And if that poor person does not want to share, then they're the horrible, mean, nasty one. Sharing is caring is the most unfair phrase I've ever heard in my life. And this just goes to show that not everything you learn necessarily, whether if it's in school or even in a song, is necessarily true or a fact. Because sharing is definitely not the answer. Stop gaslighting our children into sharing things that they don't want to share. Stop manipulating our kids into sharing what they don't want to share. Stop teaching other kids so much entitlement as well. And that second story that I mentioned in the beginning of this video as well, to when my daughter was playing peacefully with a toy, and then another girl came and invaded her space and tried taking her toy. That girl got praised for doing that. Just imagine how twisted and dark this teaching is. The person that invades your space and tries taking what you have is the one that gets praised, because they're trying to share with you, right? And then the person slightly moving away is deemed the horrible, mean, rude person. And if I've spotted those two incidents right in front of my eyes at home and in soft play, can you only imagine the amount of incidents that happen like this on a day-to-day basis in school? And teachers praise kids like that and keep promoting this teaching when it's clearly hurting other kids and making them really upset? This is the dark reality of this society. They only care about the person being shared with, mind. But the person actually sharing, no one cares about their feelings. As an adult, you're not expected to share anything. So I really don't understand why we try to push this idea on children, young children. Why do we really promote this toxic idea of sharing with young children? And the same adults that are pushing those ideas on young children, what are they sharing in their life exactly? But this is unfortunately the hypocrisy that this society drowns in. Constantly preaching things they don't even practice, because they themselves know it's wrong. They only promote those ideas in young children to make their lives easier, you see, so that kids stop crying. But their feelings, no one cares about them. They say sharing is fun, and I don't see any fun at all. I've never in my life seen two kids playing with the exact same toy happily together. You just can't have fun if you're sharing the same thing with someone else. I've only seen kids in my life crying over the same toy, hurting over the same toy, getting upset over the same toy. Because the whole point of a toy or an object is for you to explore it all on your own. Here's another story from a parent similar to the one I said in the beginning of the video. She says, I absolutely despise hearing sharing is caring whenever it's thrown around. I took my daughter to a local park that has a sand pit. We always bring her own sand toys because the ones left behind get destroyed. The second she sits down with her toys, another two kids ambush her and they start trying to grab them to use it. She starts sobbing, bless her, and only who I can assume is their mother says that stupid line. Why do we keep forcing little kids to share their toys when they're using them? If someone pulled my phone out of my hand and said sharing is caring, I'd backhand them. But for some reason, we expect a 4-year-old to be able to have any toy taken away from her like it's normal. We're literally teaching them that it's okay for someone else to take something away from you and to force you to hand over your toy that you were literally just enjoying. It's literally always like this. A kid will be playing with a toy peacefully, minding their own business. Another kid will then spot their enjoyment and come barging in, invading their space, trying to take that toy off them. And that's the moment that kid is praised then by his mother and told that yes, good boy for sharing, or good girl for sharing. Sharing what exactly? Something that they didn't even have in the first place? It's literally the most toxic and evil thing you can say to a child that's trying to take something that's not theirs. You're literally teaching them theft, not sharing is caring. I really don't understand how this idea is still getting promoted in school, and from a very young age as well, from nursery. They literally teach you that from the moment you start nursery at 2.5 years of age. That's when they start putting that shit into you. And that's when they start gaslighting you with that garbage. Imagine being praised for taking something that's not yours. What is that child gonna grow up to be in the future? A shoplifter? Because apparently sharing is caring, right? So therefore shops have to share what they have with us too. It's actually quite insane to think that not so many people actually spoke about this as well and actually highlighted it. And I really don't understand how this is something that's still ongoing. And although shit happen every day in classes, in schools, because sharing is caring, no one actually thought, let's change something here, let's make some change, because this is clearly not working anymore. But no, it's still happening. And I remember when I was a child, I used to get told this, that sharing is caring. I'm now a mother of my own 4-year-old, and this is still getting pushed on my little child. Not even by teachers, but by strangers that I don't even know, that she don't even know. And this is the maddest thing about entitlement, because it's crazy. Imagine you don't know someone and they just sort of expect you to share something you don't want to share because they feel entitled to it, because that's what they've been taught in school. It's the same situation when my daughter goes out to these public places like parks or soft plays, and then other parents are there praising their own children for sharing something that they didn't even have from the beginning. It's just wrong. It's messed up. It's fucked up. Let's be real. Stop teaching young children this absolute garbage. No, sharing isn't caring and sharing isn't fun. Sharing is traumatizing. Sharing is horrible. Not sharing is real caring. Because you're putting yourself first. You're choosing yourself first. You're choosing your own feelings and emotions first. That is true caring, and that is true self-love, which they should be teaching children from a young age rather than sharing is caring. But no, they never teach you anything in school that's actually going to improve the quality of your life and make you feel better as an individual. They only teach you things that benefit others around you. And this just goes to show how children literally get bullied from the moment they come into this world. It's not just in high school and primary that you get bullied, no, but in reception and nursery too. And even if you don't go to school, you're still being bullied into giving your things up by complete strangers in public places. It's actually quite scary how much we disregard as grown-ups just because we think they're children. They're not our pets. They're young people. That's actually not the best comparison in the world, because even pets have fucking feelings and emotions. But I just don't understand this. I don't understand why there's so much expectations from a young child. Why is there so many standards? And it's not even the Bible or the law, and even if it was, I'd still rebel against it because it's not right. Stop teaching our children this bullshit. Stop teaching our children this garbage. Stop teaching our children this absolute nonsense. Just because so many people agree doesn't necessarily mean it's true or it's a fact that will actually improve the quality of your life. Because although I'm so happy that I've saved my little one from all this nonsense and protected her and her dignity by not sending her to school, she still comes across a lot of kids all the time in public places whose parents also believe that sharing is caring. Instead of teaching your children that sharing is caring, teach them to respect personal belongings. Teach them how to respect personal items, how to respect personal space, how to ask for permission as well, and not just feel entitled to something just because sharing is caring. Because trust me, if this is how us grown-ups behaved in real life too, then we'd be getting punched and kicked all over.